Good afternoon from Grand Junction, Colorado. In the background, you see a picture of Ute Canyon, my son and myself, and he's going to take me climbing. Now, first of all and foremost, I have an incredible fear of two things: snakes and heights. And yet, this is a country that he lives in. And we started this a number of years ago. I started running in the mountains and gave up what I used to do, play golf and things of that nature, for this incredible world that I didn't see coming. And all at once, he said to me a number of times over a number of years, "Dad, let me take you climbing. I'll protect you. I'll take care of you. Let me show you some of this world that you've never seen before. So what you're looking at is what we're going to climb." And with fear and trepidation, I agreed to. He said, "This is your 75th birthday present from me. So join me." So off we went, and we're going to climb this thing. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of where we started. Well, first of all, he's climbing right behind me. He's showing what we have to go across. Well, this little ledge that he's got me up, and you can see the altitude. It's maybe 30 feet off the ground. Seemed like thousands of feet for me, but it's a little ledge, maybe a foot wide. And he's roping it so that I'm safe. And they strapped me in. He and a friend of his, Jim Hale, who followed us up, took the pictures because he wanted these pictures to be a part of my life. So off we went. And the first thing that we had to decide was whether I was going to go or not. And that's just a ledge that we worked on. To get to that ledge, he climbed me up, he climbed with me, and we got in this little crevice. And honestly, I did not want to go. And I was stuck in this crevice because what he had me going on, I had no interest. And this is the story of life that I'm going to see as a metaphor, because this is where so many people that are making a decision to do something, they're faced with this. So this ledge, it's about 50 yards long, and it goes under some of the most incredible rocks that you've ever seen. And as we go across this thing, it's beautiful beyond description. And here's what's taking place. He finally talked me into it. And as I scurried across that thing, when I mean scurry, I mean we're moving at a snail's pace. But it's good job, Dad. You're making good moves. You're secure. You're helped. And in the background, Jim Hale is nothing but full of encouragement. And these are things that, folks, I must tell you, are petrifying as I look down. So as we scurried across this thing for 50 yards, we got on the other side, and it was a decision of, can we do it? And the negativity that I faced to begin with of, "Oh, Dad, you can't do that. Oh, Steve, you can't do that. It's too frightening. You're too old. You're too whatever." But I'd promised my son that I would do this. So as we started across this thing and we worked into it, you can see that it's I can't even describe the exposure that I have and the exposure that went with this thing. So as I look back on it and I began to develop this metaphor for life, the number of people in your life that discourage you from starting up, from taking a chance. And it was me in the business of building this product called Nefesh. It was always, "Oh, you can't do this. You're too old. Retire. Quit doing that." But I saw a need. I saw a need that people had to have something other than the answers that they were getting for their nutritional needs, for their physical well-being, for their emotional well-being. And as I look back on this exchange that I had, it was so gorgeous. And I would never, ever not do it again. Although that's not true, I'll never do it again. But here we sat, taking a look at getting the first 50 yards of this, which was the planning, and his language was simple. "Dad, we have to do this part before we can start up. The foundation of it. the climbing, and so on and so forth. So as we got into this, we found ourselves all at once going vertical, and he would climb and place the ropes, and then I would begin to climb up behind him for safety's sake. And here's our wonderful friend Jim Hale, I'm sorry, and he's prompting me with putting my foot someplace else. The encouragement that went with this whole episode was mind-boggling. And the point is as I look back on this, is where I'm coming from today. Here's two incredible climbers. Jim Hale, world-class climber. My son, world-class climber, protecting me, one encouraging me from the bottom. And after we would get from one foundation to the next, climb up over another hill, you can see us climbing up through this crevice. And the idea that my son was protecting me is the only reason that I went up there. It was an encouragement. In fact, as I'm climbing, as I'm revisiting this trip, the protection. And I had given my life over to my son, because you can see if we fall there, it is messy. And from the bottom, Jim Hale is saying, Steve, you need just 6 inches to your right with your foot. There's a place to put your foot. So I'm getting this encouragement. I'm getting this incredible professional story of how to do this. And then we would climb, and the next thing you know, we'd go up to the next position. And as we went, every time I stopped, here was Jim standing right behind, putting me into my harness, making sure, and I'm looking at his hands, the strength in his hands, the security that he's giving me that I can make this thing. And as you can see at the top, my son is making sure that should I fall, I would be on a rope, and he's holding on to it. Again, I'm putting my life in two people's hands, which really begins to talk about our life just in living. We have a relationship with so many people. We have an interrelationship with so many people that we become dependent on them, and they depend on us. So the story here is one of simplicity. You need to find the right people to run a story with. And that's interesting, because without knowing it, I had chosen one of the finest people in the world, my son, to take care of me. And he had chosen one of the finest climbers in the world, a fellow who's first of all a pastor, secondly a writer, third a guide all over the world, from the Amazon to Denali in what we know is in Alaska. And he's encouraged me from the bottom. He's taken care of the things that I have I need to do. So we got up to this place, as you can see right here. And it's an interesting story, because you see, as we're looking over at Liberty Cap, we are at the same altitude of this. We're probably 800-900 feet above the floor of the canyon. And Liberty Cap's right over there, and there's a fellow standing on top of it. He and his girlfriend, she's walking over toward us. And I'm left at this thing that you're looking at here. And I'm saying, Nate, hey, we could just walk over there. And it's probably a quarter of a mile. And he said, yeah, I know the way over there. He said, but I want to describe it to you. There's a place over there that the exposure that you have, it's just a slick rock. These kids could walk across it. And by then I'm really fatigued. I'm really tired. I'm really having a dickens of a time. He said, you could go over there. But he said, Dad, as you go across that slick rock, I cannot protect you. I have no control over what happens. And it's a couple of 100 feet down to the bottom of this thing. It would be quite nasty. He said, or we can go up what you're looking at, which has incredible exposure off to the left. And I'm tired. And it's only maybe 50 or 60 feet on rope. And again, I'm looking at this thing twofold. One, I could cut short and not really see what my son wanted me to see, which is at the top of this thing. And then secondly, we would put me in an exposure that I would have zero control. And he said, if we go up this way, I can guard you. I can take care of you. There will be no danger. If you should slip and fall, I've got you on rope. I said, all right. So I made up my mind. And the most exposure that I was going to face was to my left. And off we went. And we did scramble. We did scramble. And I got to the top of that thing, and we looked over here, and here's a fellow just on top of the mountain. And it was such a beautiful story. I must tell you that I was so taken back. Well, I want to show you my friend, Jim Hale. This is him climbing to the top of Denali years ago, guiding people. And this was my support on the bottom. And again, it goes back to a relationship with another person who's supporting from the bottom, guiding, controlling, making sure I'm tied in correctly to the harness. It was an awesome 1.5 hours of climbing. Now, do I want to do that again? Not really. Would I? If I were pressured, I could make it. But you see, this is life. This is what we're trying to do, is encourage you to step out with us. Reach for a little different altitude in your life. Sit down. Deal with making exposure. We will protect you from the top and from the bottom. We'll give you information that you would love to have pertaining to the health of your body. That's what this is all about. So please join me and many others in taking charge of their life, taking charge of their health, and dealing with something that you will love.